Hey guys, off the cuff video today. Just something that's been on my mind that I'm thinking about is Capcom. Believe it or not somebody I talk about too often. But recently they came out with Dragon's Dogma 2, and it's just exploding. It's doing incredibly well. It's not really a series that I dabble in, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Maybe if it's on sale, I can try it out. I haven't tried the first one. I just don't know a whole lot about it. My friend JD adores it. I think he's even taking time off work to play it. Good for him. But um, yeah, I was thinking about that, and they have this massively popular JRPG, but it's like an action based, from what it looked like, action based open world JRPG. And I was thinking, like, they seem to have completely abandoned their other JRPG. Like they don't even talk about it. They're bringing back all these games. Like they're remaking all the Resident Evils. They brought that series back from the dead, essentially from 6. So they really revitalized that one. Um, Street Fighter had a bit of a dip, but it picked right back up at 5, and I think is gaining more and more popularity now. They're really like a revitalized company, and it's been really impressive to see, and I'm happy for them. But getting back to it, I think they've really forgotten about one of their, at a time, core games, um, and that is Breath of Fire. They have a series called Breath of Fire. Younger gamers probably don't even know what that is. Um, but Breath of Fire started on the Super Nintendo, I believe. It may have actually come from before that, but in America, I got it. It came out on the Super Nintendo. Let me just double check that real quick. Checking Wikipedia. Um, Breath of Fire. Let's double check to make sure I'm not a liar. Super Nintendo. Okay, good. Wasn't sure if maybe it came out earlier somewhere else, and someone would call me out on it. But yeah, Super Nintendo, and then got a re-release on the Game Boy Advance. And I gotta say, like, this series has some pretty diehard fans, and I am not one of them. But full disclosure, I've only played 1 and 2, like extensively, because they were Super Nintendo games. I'm a Super Nintendo guy. Um, so I played 1 and 2, not all the way through on either of them. I just couldn't really get into them, but I got really, really far, especially in 1. Um, and I like it, but to me, it harkens way, way old school. And I'm not necessarily an old school fanatic. I like one foot in the old, one foot in the new. Let's just think like my favorite RPGs would be like, my favorite RPG is Chrono Trigger. At the time, did a lot of really new stuff. So, and then I like Dragon Quests. In as they get advanced, and I like 8 the most. And then so I like. I'm not specific to classic RPGs, but man, this series always felt to me like it was really trying to capture older RPGs, even at the time, even at Super Nintendo time. To me, it just feels like it's simplified and older. It does a couple unique things. Like I like how on the map, the world map, you can you can get around easier, or sometimes solve maybe solve puzzles, but cross things, and start expanding your travel through your team members' abilities. So that's a unique idea. Maybe one that they used in like Pokemon for like HMs. But it's interesting because to me it always just felt like very, very, very old school. The gameplay just felt old school. I did love how in the ones I played had the enemies had a health bar, which I think more games should do, more RPGs should do. Health bars are cool. I like them. I'm into it. It's way better than looking at a number. So anyway, the I feel like the better version, or the better games of the series, were on the PS1, which I didn't really play. I played a little bit of 3, like just starting it, and it just felt so old school. But that being said, in 2024, there is a huge market for old school JRPGs. Like that market has exploded. Just looking at like, Octopath Traveler is considered great now, and I don't even think that's that good. But clearly, there's a market that I'm not attuned to that will pay for stuff and that will like things. Triangle Strategy got good reviews. Um, all the indie RPG, Sea of Stars, the one that's coming out, AEIOU Den Chronicles, and then the other one that came out just a little ago. I don't remember, but anyway, there's a market right now for JRPGs. In fact, I think when they were ending their run of this series back in the PS2 with uh, Dragon Quarter. Let me look just to make sure I get all these right. Uh, on November 14th, 2002, North America came out on in 2003. It was Dragon Quarter, which that was on the PS2, and I think it was a little bit divisive. I think they tried a lot new on that one, and I've heard some people really like it, and I heard other people say it was just terrible. Which 3 and 4, and I honestly the rest of the series besides the one I'm going to talk about later, the first four are generally well regarded. So I mean, it started out pretty strong, and then maybe Dragon Quarter killed it. Um, now, elephant in the room, there is a Breath of Fire 6 that came out only in Japan and was released on Windows and Android. Um, that ain't it. They really need to release, a major series, or a major run in the series. And I guess you'd have to call it Breath of Fire 7. Whatever, who cares? They do that with other stuff too, so I don't think that's that big of a hindrance. But as far as I'm not the biggest fan of this series, but I know people that are like obsessed with it. My friend of the show, Fabrilon, check out his channel on YouTube. It's his favorite series. He loves it. And I think I see it, and there's a lot of stuff to love about this series. I would really like to play 4. I heard that's the really good one. But yeah, like there's so much to this series that I think could be transported to today. They could do a really like clean remake of 1 and 2, just bump up the visuals a little bit, and I think you're good. You don't have to do a whole lot to them. 3 and 4 probably the same thing, but really you could do a Breath of Fire 7. And I think there's a lot of people that would get on board with that. And then they could go back and invest in the back catalog if you were to remake those. Um, yeah, the JRPG train has been going for a couple of years now. Since like mid PS4, I feel like it's picked up dramatically. And and I think Capcom's really missing an opportunity with this series. So, I don't do the logistics for Capcom. I don't tell them what to do. But my God, I think they need to make a Breath of Fire 7. And it would go great alongside their Dragon's Dogma 2. Because you could have an action RPG, you can have a traditional JRPG. And they could probably make an anime with it. It was an anime game, so make an anime that goes along with it. Make some money, make a big series, make a lot of people really happy. So that's just my 2 cents, Capcom. If you're listening, you probably aren't. But yeah, Breath of Fire. Let's go. I'm down. I'll play it. Thank you. See you guys next time.